Good morning. I'm Joyce Matson, and I am the gathering leader this morning. It's on? Okay, thank you, Sam. I chose this over the other option because you have to remember to shut the other option off. That's not always something I might remember. Welcome to Southminster Steiner United Church. SSUC, Spiritual Seekers United in Community. And welcome to those of you who are here in the room and those of you who are watching online with us this morning. We are a place of welcome. We welcome all sizes, all ages, all colors, all cultures, all genders, all sexualities, all spiritualities, or none, all abilities, all statuses, whatever that might mean for us, all types, all people. This is a place where everybody is welcome to come, share, question, and be part of the community. And so we are very happy that you are with us this morning.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Christensen. I'm your gathering companion this morning, pinch hitting for Joanne Van Beek. I'm going to light the candle. As I light this candle amidst chaos and destruction in our world, may we take these next moments to focus on this flame, to be reminded to bring our gift of love, our gift of compassion, our justice and goodness to our humanity. We're not isolated, but connected in body, in spirit, and in community to each other. We also acknowledge this space and the land on which we gather. For thousands of years, it's been the traditional land of the Cree, Nakota Sioux, Dene Ta, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, and Métis. Today, this place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live, work, and make our home on this land. Well, here's something new. I'm telling the story this morning. So this is a time for all ages, so feel free to come to the carpet. Please come to the carpet, and we'll read this together. Hello. Yes. Thank you. Hello. Have you read this book before? You have? I've never read it. I don't know what it's about, really. Yeah. Well, we have a book to read here, and it is called Elephant in the Dark. One person here has read it already. I've never read it. Here we go. So this is a book based on the poem by Rumi. And it's retold by Mina Javaherbin, pictures by Eugene Yelchin. Here we go. Merchant Ahmed had brought a mysterious creature all the way from India. The news spread fast through the village. What could the huge beast be? The villagers ran to the merchant's barn next to his house to see this strange creature. But the doors were locked, and the merchant, tired from his journey, was sound asleep. The rowdy crowd woke the merchant. He stuck his head out of the window and shouted, "It's too dark in the barn to see anything. Go home and let me sleep." He's kind of grumpy. Oops. Okay, the hardest part is turning the pages. Here we go. But no one went home. Instead, they decided to see the beast for themselves. The first villager snuck into the dark barn. He tripped on a bucket of water and fell on the animal's long, slithery nose. This startled the villager and sent him running. Outside, he gathered himself, puffed his chest, and said, "The creature is like a snake." Next, a short man entered and reached very slowly into the dark. He wrapped his arms around one of the animal's legs, then rushed out to report. "People, the creature is not like a snake at all. Oh no, it's round and tall like a tree trunk." A third villager climbed inside the dark barn. The beast swept its huge ear against her face, and the woman ran out. "The creature is neither like a snake nor a tree trunk," she panted. "It's like a fan, a huge floppy fan." The three villagers argued excitedly. Others scratched their heads and disagreed. Each offered such a different view. The fight escalated, and the remaining villagers stole into the dark barn to find out the truth for themselves. What do you think the truth is? Have you read this before? Oh, I have. Don't tell me the ending. Okay. It's like a leathery jug of water. It's skinny and hairy like a paintbrush. It's definitely sharp like a plow. It sounds like a horn. All day long, they called each other names and fought to prove each other wrong. Into the night, no one listened, but everyone shouted and shoved. When the sun finally rose the next morning, Merchant Ahmad led the beautiful, gentle creature to the river. But everyone was still too busy fighting to notice the large gray elephant. And no one noticed that each knew only a small piece of the truth. What's that? They did. All the children came. Sometimes children make more sense than adults, don't they? Yeah, I agree. That's the story. Some of you knew the ending. It's over, I know. I'm sorry. But there's Kids Spirit over there. There's Youth Space downstairs. So you guys can go to either of those places. Thanks for listening.
It's time for us to talk about the life and the work and what goes on from this place and in this place throughout the week. And so I think Blair has an announcement, first of all, about the food bank.
I'm actually going to be special and do two. Oh, okay. I didn't tell you about the other one. Oops. So, once again, I'm here to talk about food bank. The boxes in the back entryway, it's filling up, so I'm assuming they'll pick it up on Thursday. If anybody has any food donations and or monies, you can send the monies to the food bank directly. That information is in the messenger. My other announcement, as I change hats, just give me a sec, I need to change photos. Next Sunday, we have a pre-AGM meeting. It's my understanding that these were done before COVID. Once COVID hit, well, that all went in a handbasket. So we're trying to get back to some of the things that we did before that. So January the 19th, we're going to be talking about outreach and finances, everybody's favorite discussion. Those conversations will happen shortly after the service, so once everybody says sort of tootled on out, got their coffee, if you want to stay, I'm sure Jakob, since he'll be doing finances, will make a wonderful announcement and tell people to come back in. So if you have any questions, by all means, please check base with me or May or Jakob. I don't know who else is here. Quick scan. Sorry? Marg, for outreach, yes. Sorry, I was looking right at you. Blonde moment, right? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Blair. I'm here about the coldest night of the year, and I have no intention of being in Edmonton on the coldest night of the year, which this year will be on the 18th of February, which means that I can't organize anything, and Ruth is busy with other events, and Linda is also out of town, so we are looking for a leader. And all you got to do is just ask people for money every Sunday and keep telling them about it every Sunday and find a bunch of walkers to go with you, and they too will be asking their friends and everybody else that they know, because this is all in support of the Bissell Centre and the extraordinary work they do with our unhoused population in Edmonton, which is growing by the day. So please, I will be at the welcome table outside. If 3 of you want to lead the initiative, that's great. I really don't care how many, and if anybody wants to be a walker, please come and let me know so we can get our team registered and we can get the ball rolling. We have another 5 weeks to raise the target of $5,000.
I think Dean has exciting news for us.
Now, there is something wonderful about belonging to a group of people who get involved and help to within their abilities. And when we decided to raise funds for the refugees are going to be coming, Aisha, whose brother and sister and 3-year-old child are coming eventually to Edmonton, she said she could contribute by cooking food, by preparing food for the event. But what event? Well, that's up on the slides, you can see it. It's Ainsley sent out the information on Friday, so that's in the newsletter. February 8th, an afternoon concert that will feature storytelling and music and Aisha and Rukia's food that they'll be making in our kitchen. So if you would like to contribute, you can come to the event, buy a ticket, more information online. Thank you.
I'm not talking about finances. The men's gathering on Tuesday morning, where the ladies come for ladies' connection, women's connection that park their husbands, it's we were supposed to be having a talk on carbon capture this Tuesday morning, but the gentleman that gives the talk has a medical appointment at that time, so we've got to move it to next week. So if the announcement in the what do you call it, thing that gets sent out says that we're going to be talking about carbon capture on Tuesday. That's not correct. It'll be the week after. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I have a reading from Anne Hillman. We look with uncertainty. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes. Vulnerable to the beauty of existence. These are the words of a contemporary poet. May we find wisdom for our living. to pick it up. Our second story is the story of the Magi, which we've heard, right, in the past couple of weeks. But it's one that, for me, is exciting and interesting. So we're going to have it repeat it this morning. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem village in Judah, this was during Herod's reign, a band of scholars arrived in Jerusalem from the east. They asked around, "Where can we find and pay homage to the newborn King of the Jews? We observed a star in the eastern sky that signaled his birth. We're on a pilgrimage to worship him." When word of their inquiry got to Herod, he was disturbed and terrified. Herod lost no time. He gathered all of the high priests and the religious scholars in the city together and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" They told him, "Bethlehem in Judah territory." Herod then arranged a secret meeting with the scholars from the east. Pretending to be as devout as they were, he got them to tell him exactly when the birth announcement star appeared. Then he told them the prophecy about Bethlehem and said, "Go find this child. Leave no stone unturned. As soon as you find him, send word, and I'll join you at once in your worship." Instructed by the king, they set off. Then the star appeared again, the same star they had seen in the eastern skies. It led them on until it hovered over the place of the child. They could hardly contain themselves. They were in the right place. They had arrived at the right time. They entered the house and saw the child in the arms of Mary, his mother. Overcome, they kneeled and worshiped him, then opened their luggage and presented gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. In a dream, they were warned not to report back to Herod. So they worked out another route, left the territory without being seen, and returned home by another way. This is a first century story from the Christmas tradition.
Stars
seeing with new eyes. I have to say, I love the word and the concept of Epiphany more than any other time in the Christian year. It's the one that captures me. And so this is a bit of a definition for those who are not really familiar with the word. It's a sudden, intuitive perception or insight into the reality or essential meaning of something, usually initiated by some simple, homely, or commonplace occurrence or experience. It's an illuminating discovery, a realization or disclosure. That was my favorite definition, because that's kind of what I always think of it as. Means we're seeing things with new eyes. We have a new understanding of what is actually happening in front of us. And last week we got the opportunity to get our watchwords, and it's kind of a time to think about that watchword and what's happening in your life and around you at this point in time. If you didn't get a watchword last week, the basket is here, and you are welcome after the service to select one for yourself. I have to say my word is growth, which I think is a great word to have when you're in your 80s. Trying to think about what new angles and things I can be looking forward to. Now, I think most of us, if not all of you, have had an epiphany experience. It can be as simple as an understanding that there's more than one way to do something. There's a new way to get home from wherever you are. I have to tell you, one of the biggest ones for me, some of you are old enough to remember Archie Bunker when he was doing his stuff on television regularly. And I will never forget the episode where I think his daughter was in labor, and he was sitting with his son-in-law who was getting dressed. And his son-in-law was putting on his socks and his shoes. And he put on a sock and a sock. And Archie said, "That's not the right way to do that. It's a sock and a shoe and a sock and a shoe." And I can remember watching that show and thinking, oh my God, I've never given that a moment's thought. But of course, we all have our own ways of doing some of those everyday things that we do. You know, getting in the car and, you know, driving to wherever we're going, all of those kinds of things. So sometimes epiphanies are that simple. And sometimes they are completely life-altering. It can be triggered by maturing into adulthood, right? As we go from being teenagers, right, to have an education and learning things and seeing things in ways we've never experienced before. Having a new relationship, which brings, right, whether it's a new friend of whatever gender, is going to bring their life experience into your relationship and into your learning. And that can result in you seeing things in a completely different way. Almost any situation you can name, there are many, many ways that epiphanies happen. So I want to ask you, how many of you have actually had an epiphany experience? Put your hands up. Come on. Right. Most of us have. Anyone like to share their epiphany experience? Oh, at the back. That one on, Mike? Sam? Okay.
Hello, there we go. I could hold it, it's easier. Thank you. Hi, I'm Irish Stanley. I've been in Canada over 60 years now. And the first year when I came, I had to learn English. And it was at Alberta College where they taught this, and we had a fantastic teacher, Mrs. Gibson. And she was talking about going to church, hearing the messages, and so on. And I really had nothing to do with things like that. How could I believe that? But then we went to church one Sunday with our class, and Mr. Harry Meadows, Reverend Harry Meadows, was there, and he talked to us, and he gave a sermon, and it really was as if I suddenly had new glasses. I could see a message, and I could read it, and it meant something to me. And here I am 60 years later, very much a United Church member, and it has helped me so many times. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Anyone else? Gilda? Oh, okay. Someone at the back.
I had somebody knock on my door 2 weeks ago, and they were two ladies, very, very friendly, and I wasn't quite sure what they were there for. And they wanted me to check out a program that their committee was giving, and it turned out that they were Jehovah's Witness. And to begin with, that was a whole different kind of way that Jehovah's Witness approached me. And then on Friday this week, I told them that I was mourning my husband, and like they talked to me first before they told me what they were there for. And on Friday, the lady came with a flower for me. Didn't know each other's names, nothing. And we did chat a bit. A real epiphany for me.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks. There was another hand at back there? No? Okay, Gilda at the front.
Thank you. I've told this congregation before that I left the Catholic Church in 1969, and I couldn't talk about this with anyone. I didn't know anyone who was going through this themselves, but I was reading all this time, and I can laugh about it now, but as the teachings of the Catholic Church were put where they belong, I had all these epiphanies about all those things, and it was just one of the most exhilarating and liberating trends that I've had in my life, and I thank God for them.
Thank you, Gilda. There's one at the back. Miss Carolyn.
So the insight that I'd like to share is an insight on interbeing, which is a term coined by Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh, and it just is a way of seeing the world that you are in me and I am in you, and that your happiness is my happiness and my happiness is your happiness. And I think it really helped me to see the world as a place where we are all connected, we're all walking in the same direction. And even if some of us are walking a little bit slower or a little bit, forward, we're all going in that direction, and we're all friends on this path together. And whether or not we do things differently, like you said, it's not as important as how we do things, if it's in the spirit of love and just wishing everybody well on their path because of that insight of interbeing.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do one more? Terry.
Some of you have heard this story. It happened in 2011, and it led me to this faith circle and changed my life forever. I had a leak in my basement, and I put some energy work forward in a course I was taking in southern Alberta. And I'm not going to explain it because it's called Family and Systems Constellations, but the bottom line is you place something in a circle and some kind of resolution comes out of it. The leak in my basement turned out to be a river of tears under South Edmonton, Millwood specifically, under my home, caused by the appropriation of that beautiful farmland, later to become residential, that was the Papas Chase First Nation. So that land ranged from 51st Avenue on the north to 119th Street on the east, or the west, 17th Street on the east, and Ellerslie Road on the south. That 30th Avenue on the south. I have the map, but anyway, regardless of where it was a large reserve. There were people living there, as we say in our land acknowledgement every week, doing what they do, and suddenly they weren't allowed to. They were stuck there, and then it was appropriated. There were so many stories of the anguish of the land, and the one gentleman, Francis Keon, who agreed to speak in a ceremony that I arranged as an apology on the National Day of Healing and Reconciliation on June the 11th, 2012, said he was Papas Chase descendant. He lived outside of town, and when he came to Edmonton, his hackles would come up as soon as he came near town. As soon as he drove near Millwoods, he made whoever was driving him drive around. He couldn't drive through there. There was so much pain in him, innately, from the experience of the land. So, suffice to say, my life will, as I said before, will never be the same knowing about that, because then I got involved through the Truth and Reconciliation in this congregation, and you can't unknow something. So that was my epiphany.
I spoke to a Papas Chase elder at the retina clinic downtown. He told me that his people were moved off this territory. They were told the move was temporary. They got $5 each and never allowed to return.
Thank you. So some of the epiphany stories lead us in kind of good ways. Sometimes the realization is that we've not necessarily done things the best way we could have. I remember I was part of Kigano Housing Co-op, for any of you who understand and know the Millwoods community or the cooperative movement. And when that complex was built, it's in Millwoods in Richfield, it was purposely designed so it could have a daycare center. So they built the one unit that it met all of the government regulations regarding washrooms and exits and all of the things that one needed to do at that point in time, as far as the regulations were concerned, so that we could actually have a daycare center in the middle of what was a very socialistic, right, environment. So when the time came that we had kind of finished all of the construction, and it was time for us to actually get the daycare going, and somehow I think I was chair of the board at that time. But what started to happen within the complex was people started to be divided into two groups. Whereas there was the 20 kids group, and there was the 30 kids group. The space was designed to actually accommodate 30 children. However, the 20s crew didn't necessarily want the parking and the traffic and the noise that might happen if we had 10 more children. And so it went around and around, of course, as these things do, and then we had a vote, and actually nothing ever got resolved, to the point where, to my knowledge, there is still no daycare in Kigano. And for me, when I actually had the opportunity to step back and look at what had evolved and what had happened, I was very aware that I could have taken a whole different way of dealing with that situation. And a vision was lost because we got caught up in the minutia of what life would mean for us. So there's both sides. Sometimes the epiphany tells us we did something good, or we have an opportunity to do something good. Sometimes it's an awakening for ourselves. One of the life lessons that Sherry Carter Scott shares in her book, If Life is a Game, These Are the Rules. So she has 12 rules in the book. They're really quite interesting. But one of the rules is, lessons are repeated until learned. And I have definitely had that experience. You know, where you've been doing something and doing the same thing over and over again, and one day, all of a sudden you have a realization that there's another way to think about or look at the situation that you're working with. I kind of think of it as the coin dropped, right? And now I know that there's a different way to look at things and see things. So what do we do when we have this new perspective, these new eyes, this new understanding? Sometimes the answer to that one is easy. You know, if it's a simple thing like sock and a sock and a shoe and a shoe, that's not rocket science. We can readily make the change that is necessary. Sometimes, however, it's time for us to really pause. Figure out how we develop the understanding that we had. For me, it means a long look in the mirror. Because regardless of who else and what else is involved, I was there. I am there. And what actions have I taken that might have an impact on someone else? Have I looked at this project, this instance, as from every possible angle? It's time, right? I find, for me, to understand why I formed the perceptions that I have, and then to begin to think about, what do I do now that I know this? And I think for me, once I start to understand that there are different future possibilities, that we can actually adapt, then it's important to find a companion or two to travel with you, to take the time to unpack what it is you are learning and where you think you want to head. And so having a companion to share that with, I think helps to keep you honest and helps to keep you on track. So epiphanies. I hope you have many of them. And I wish you many new insights, especially as we're moving into 2025 and our world is in such a mess. And we have a place of love and compassion, and I hope we can find ways to continue to grow that and support one another. Thank you. Now let's take some time to share some of our intentions. We come together today in a place of community where we are all accepted. As the world around us is in a state of unrest, may we remember to be kind to one another, to be open to new ways of seeing the people and communities around us, to accept and love those who see the world differently. May we work together to create a world of justice and belonging.
In the world, a changing light in the world. And that's good. That's very good when we do it with love.